video you're about to watch is genuine footage from our investigations. No manipulation, no fakery, just real footage by real investigators. Viewer discretion is advised.
Thank you very much. Now, can you make that light go off again? Oh, you
Yes,
stop!
Haunted Britain Investigations.
This year has been an incredibly challenging and devastating year for all of us around the world. With the arrival of the devastating coronavirus pandemic, it's shut the world down. We've had to isolate, stay away from our loved ones and go into lockdown, and because of this there has been no paranormal investigations at all. So with that in mind, we decided to do a paranormal special, a coronavirus lockdown video, where members of the HBI team from their own homes have recorded segments explaining to you guys some of their favourite moments and most mind-blowing evidence from past investigations. So this is the video. We hope you enjoy it, and most of all, please stay safe.
Hi guys, it's Steve from HBI here. I hope you're enjoying our lockdown video. We're really sorry that we can't get out and do some real investigations at the moment. 2020 has turned out to be a very difficult year for us. We had so much planned, but hopefully we'll get out investigating again very soon and bring you some more great evidence. So I want to talk to you today about the investigation we did back in November 2018, which was at the very famous Jamaica Inn in Cornwall. That's situated just between Launceston and Bodmin Moor. It's a really remote place. It's a pub, restaurant, hotel, and it has great atmosphere and a lot of history. Being built in 1750, it's very, very famous, and we were very privileged to go and investigate it. So a great bit of evidence for me was when I was at the top of the stairs in the old part where the old hotel rooms are, because there's a newer wing of hotel rooms which we didn't investigate. The old part, I came across at the top of the corridor to the right was a gentleman that I saw wearing a dark black coat and a large hat. It was a male figure that I'd seen, and we were joined by Karen, who's the resident paranormal historian at Jamaica Inn. She followed me around all night during the investigation, making notes to see if anything I said correlated with what they already knew and whether I brought through any new information. So after I'd seen this figure, she showed to the camera, not myself because I didn't know anything about this, that a guest only 30 minutes before I saw this figure had said that they'd seen the exact same figure, described it exactly in the same place. Now I had no knowledge of this, I hadn't met the guest, had no idea that Karen had written this down. So to me that's a good piece of evidence that I had picked up on something that an independent witness had also seen shortly before I saw it. There were a lot of exciting things that happened at Jamaica Inn because it's renowned for apparitions and knocks and noises and disembodied voices. It was a great investigation. For me, one of the biggest frights of the night wasn't paranormal. It was when I was in the gents' toilets and a member of staff, unbeknown to me, had walked in behind me while I was washing my hands and suddenly appeared in the mirror, and I literally leapt out of my skin. It's a shame it wasn't paranormal because it would have made a great bit of evidence in the video, but sadly not. So enjoy the segment on Jamaica Inn, and don't forget to watch the whole video on Jamaica Inn, which is one of our best investigations, I think. We've been followed by a tall... I think that's a male. There's two of them here. They're watching us. One's come out from the right. There's one standing to the left. Okay.
So he doesn't see. Can you just see this? This was taken half an hour ago by a guest downstairs.
Okay.
So that was, wrote that half an hour ago by a guest that stayed 2 years ago, and it ties in with
what Steve said. Wow. Okay.
Curiosity or suspicion?
Very curious. Right. I'm just getting something.
He's getting something else.
that was really interesting.
That's cool, isn't it?
Oh, we've got something interesting.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay. Okay. I was just trying to work out what was going on here, because when I walked up to this bit, I'm not sure. There's two guys, but one of them's on his back.
Right.
On the stairs.
Okay.
And there's another guy. I'm not sure whether they're fighting or whether he's dragging the person. I'm not sure what's going on yet, but that just kind of flashed up in my head.
Okay. Feel free to tell Steve that bit of information, because now he's picked it up. I'm happy for him to know.
Just half an hour ago, a guest came up to me while I sat at the bar and said that she was here in 2016. She talked about something which I'll relay later, but the most interesting part was when she came up the stairs, she happened to look right, and she saw a figure of a man who was sort of half turned to room 5,
Okay.
looked straight at her.
Okay.
He had a white shirt on, he had a black hat. It was a big flat hat, that's what she
Okay.
described it.
Yeah.
He had a black jacket,
Yeah.
black trousers. She couldn't describe what he looked like.
Yeah, that's him.
But she just said he looked straight at her,
Yeah.
and then she turned and walked and
Yeah,
followed her
that's him.
husband.
That's the man. That's him.
So
Wow.
I just thought, I mean, that was a brand new witness statement. So
And that's not documented anywhere.
literally half an hour ago.
Okay.
So that's really impressive, because I've never had that outside of room 5.
Right.
Hi, I'm Lynn, one of the investigators. Oh wow, what a year it's been, eh? We haven't been able to get out and investigate, haven't been able to do much at all really. So what we're putting together is a compilation of things that have interested us in the past on our investigations. So I'd like to start with Tutbury Castle. I was filming one evening, and on one occasion I've got the camera pointed at Jen, and I still can't explain what happened to this day, but her face, it changed, it altered in some way. And Lee was sat next to her, but obviously he couldn't see her because it was pitch black, and I knew there was something wrong, and the next thing I know, she just burst into tears. She sobbed her heart out, and she must have cried for a good 10 minutes before she pulled herself together and was able to rejoin us investigating. So that was an interesting night.
Behind the staircase.
Oh Jesus! I think I just caught that, and I was beyond this if it was.
Did you really?
Yeah, behind Lee.
Behind Lee.
Yeah, this would have caught it, because I was panning there because I thought I saw something, but I don't know what it was. You with me?
Very faint, but it was a definite flicker of light.
I got that excited. I spat on the screen. Sorry, Lee. Hang on. Oh, gross.
Don't touch the screen, mate, because you could turn it off.
That's good for YouTube.
Come on then, it looks like you're about to give us something. Please show us what you got and what you can do. Bless you. Do appreciate it, you know. We know you can deliver here. We've been here so many times.
Are you aware that we're unable to see you? How was that noise?
Something came from, I thought it was maybe an animal outside.
Are you breathing, Gemma?
Do you fall asleep? Are you alright? You look a bit weird on here. You alright? Gem? Come on, who's affecting Gem? Come on.
Okay, we need to take a step out for a minute.
Yeah.
Come on. Any idea what's going on, sir?
What was that noise?
That was the door.
Was it a dragon?
What, this one?
Really?
I could see it all.
It didn't sound like that.
Wasn't that? No, it's like a...
Oh, yeah.
No, that was the door. This,
No, that wasn't it.
the moment you said what was that noise, I was moving the door.
Okay.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah.
She went all funny. Is she alright? Oh, she went all funny. I could see her on cam. Who touched me?
No one.
Nobody touched you, Lou.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Somebody's just touched my bum.
No one was here.
Oh, take the camera.
Brilliant. Okay.
And then there were four.
There was 4.
Okay.
One of my favourite locations that we've investigated in the past is the Great Central Railway in Loughborough. It's a heritage steam railway. You can go for days out, ride the steam trains, but it also has had decades of paranormal claims. People seeing apparitions, disembodied voices, poltergeist activity, so we had to investigate. During the investigation, the team did a vigil in the gents' loos, the toilets. This is where the ghost of a fireman that tragically died nearby, not at the station but nearby, and this is fact, this is down in documents that you can find. His ghost has been seen many times in the gents' toilets, and Lynn and Jem were doing a vigil there, and they had the Ovulus device, the Ovulus 5. This device, in theory, detects changes in the atmosphere and converts them into words using a phonetic dictionary built into the device. Jem is calling out for the spirit of this fireman that was tragically killed, and the Ovulus device all of a sudden says a sentence which on analysis blew me away. What it says is, "I'm here to put out the fires." Now, bearing in mind that Gemma was trying to communicate with the ghost of a fireman, and then the Ovulus comes out and says this, to me that is quite mind-blowing. So here's the clip, see what you think.
Do you remember how you died? I'm sorry, I can only call you by your surname because there's no record of your first name that they can find. Can you tell us what happened? Why did you jump?
As Gemma continues to call out for the spirit of the fireman, the Ovilus device says something quite amazing. Not only does it say a long sentence, but it also says something very relevant to what Gemma is asking. Paranormal? Intelligent response? You decide.
Why do you bang about? Why do you bang about? Does it hurt you to think that had you stayed on the train, you'd have survived? That was the I again, which is what I got on the platform earlier on.
Is it I or Y?
I for yes.
Is that I for yes? Were you answering my question? Does it upset you? Do you get annoyed and frustrated that had you stayed on the train, you'd have survived?
Hi, I'm Andy, one of the team members at HBI. Due to the pandemic at the moment, all of our investigations pretty much for the rest of this year have been cancelled and rebooked until it's safe to do so. Obviously, we like to keep our faces in your thoughts, so we've decided to put together a lockdown video, which basically is all of our favourite bits of evidence over our time at HBI. I've not been a member for a great deal of time, probably 3.5 years maybe. One of the bits of evidence that I want to talk about today is actually my first investigation. The Old Strutt School in a place called Belper in Derbyshire. As investigations go, it was pretty non-eventful for the majority of the night. However, on one of our breaks, whilst using the bathroom, Gemma was greeted with one of the taps turning themselves on while she was engaged, shall we say. I happened to be in the gents' toilets, which backed onto the ladies, and I was engaged as well. And I can remember hearing the boiler kick in, although not directly eventful at the time. When that was followed by a scream and Gemma come running out all excited, I realised that I'd actually heard the tap turning on. It was a hot tap, which caused the boiler to engage. Like I say, pretty non-eventful night, but that was a very interesting event. The taps weren't particularly old. They were the lever style, so hard to knock. Yeah, unexplainable, not necessarily paranormal, but certainly unexplainable and certainly very interesting. We tried to replicate, obviously, to no avail. Even by slightly knocking, these taps were full on, and they literally came straight on, full on. So that was very interesting.
Okay, we're heading off to the ladies because we've just come on from a break and the tap is on. The tap is on full blast. And that wasn't on before, and nobody has been in here.
that wasn't running when I was the last one to use this. Because I came in.
Because I came in and I thought...
That turned on while I was having a pee.
But nobody's been in here.
Nobody's been in
I was in the other. As I was having a
So
pee.
you were using the toilet and you heard that come on?
Yeah, I thought maybe it was an extractor fan or something.
I'd gone to the toilet, but when I came to the toilet, that was already running. I thought it was the extractor fan, and then, or I thought somebody else was in here, but I didn't hear anybody else in here. When I came out, nobody else around, and then I
I'm
thought...
going to check the washer and stuff on this.
When I last came.
Oh, come on, you feel that? That is so stiff to turn.
There's nothing else.
And that's been turned right round to there. So that's off.
That's a mixer tap, isn't it?
Yeah.
All the way
And that is really quite solid, and that's been turned right across to there.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, well, it's noise, hasn't it?
Yeah, I use this one,
Yeah,
which is virtually opposite.
yeah. So you heard it come
And it
on,
was silent when I come in here.
and then you heard it come on thinking it was somebody in there. Then you come out, and Jem's gone in and found it running. That's bizarre. The tap has been running full blast.
Because we went past
On
the
its
room when we
no, Andy was having a wee, and he heard it come. He heard it come on.
I thought it was an extractor fan.
And then Jem has just gone in, and it's like that's off.
Yeah.
It's gone right round to the hot and was running full blast. So hang on, I just need to go in there with this.
I heard it down here. I didn't know maybe you'd walked out in there and there was a noise at the door or something.
The only time I walked out was about
Would have been somewhere around.
an hour ago. We walked into 17. It was an hour ago.
No, this would have been
Because there was
between
some noise
5 and 10.
outside.
Between 5 past and quarter past.
No, I've not moved since 10.
But no, I've just been in there, and the tap is on full
blast on the
As
hot.
in, it's like when it's shut off, it's near the
wall.
The faucet is near the wall. You have to pull it. It was right round. It was sticking right out the other way.
And the thing is, one of our other investigators, Andy, was using the gents' toilets, which is practically the other side of the wall. And when he went in, it was silent, but he actually heard it come on and thought it was the extractor fan. Okay, so the tap incident, we can confirm that Eric, who runs the building with the charity he works with, hasn't been out of his office in over an hour. Andy went in to use the gents. While he was in there, he actually heard the tap come on from the other side of the wall, thought it was an extractor fan, came out, and that's when Gemma came running out to say the tap was on full blast. We were all accounted for in here at the time, so we don't know really what's caused that.
One of the things that you don't see on our videos is all the analysis that we do after an investigation. We do hours and hours of footage from cameras, from audio recorders, and we have to sit there and listen and watch through all of it to try and capture the best evidence that we can to put onto the videos. One of the things we caught, which I think was amazing, was at Tubbury Castle. A little bit of background for you. Apparently there's a little girl called Ellie who likes to play in the Great Hall, but she doesn't like it if the door to the King's Chambers, which is a small room off the Great Hall, if that door is open. So during the investigation, Gemma walked over to the door to the King's Chamber and closed it. And we carried on talking to Ellie, calling out for any evidence. Didn't think anything of it. Later on that week, we were going through the evidence and I came across this clip of Gemma closing the door. And as she closed the door, I heard something on the video in the background. It took a few takes and rewinds and a little bit of enhancement to try and clear it out. But what we heard as the door closed was a voice saying, "Let us in."
Because whoever it is that's in there, she doesn't like them.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's what somebody has said before. She doesn't like whoever's in there. Because whoever it is that's in there, she doesn't like them.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's what somebody has said before. She doesn't like whoever's in there.
Hi everybody, this is Gemma from HBI. So this is my opportunity now to have a chat with you. I don't need to go on about COVID-19 and the pandemic and how it's had an effect on all of us. We all know what the restrictions have been, and it's been really difficult being away from the team for so long. Not just because we enjoy what we do, we definitely enjoy what we do, we have a passion for what we do, but because HBI are like a family, and it's been really difficult not being able to see all of our teammates and have that fantastic camaraderie that we have together, and that's something I've really missed. I mean, yes, we've FaceTimed each other, and we've had quiz nights and things just to kind of keep in touch, but it's nothing like being together and bouncing off each other, and I've really missed having the whole team around, and missed the locations. The locations are amazing and we love doing what we do, but it is what it is, and we're hoping to be back out there soon once everything's kind of safer and blown over. So on to my pieces of evidence that I have picked to be some of my favourites. I have so many, so it's been really hard just to choose two. But my first one is a piece of evidence that we've never been able to put on video before. This piece of evidence comes from Lancaster Castle. We were very, very privileged to be the first ever paranormal investigation team to be allowed access to the castle and the prison. It took my breath away just how atmospheric this building was, because from the outside it looks like a castle, on the inside it's a prison, and it had layers and layers and layers of history, of feeling, of emotion, and I loved the location. It was one of the best places I've ever been to. But this piece of evidence came when we were on a vigil in the main part of the prison. We were downstairs on the ground floor, and Steve and I were calling out, and as we were walking round the bottom part of the prison, he says, "Oh, there's somebody with us," and he says, "It's a man with us," and he was describing him, and he says he's taken quite a shine to some of us, and he says particularly the ladies, and it felt very, very strange when we were stood there. And so I just started calling out and kind of trying to back up what Steve had come up with. And as I asked Steve, I said, I called out and I said, you know, "What's your name? And, you know, what did you do? What was your crime?" And after a few seconds, Steve says he's in here for something sexual. I think I made a bit of a joke of it at the time. And we just carried on. We didn't think anything of it, and it wasn't until we got back home and started going through all the evidence that when we got to that part of the investigation, there was a very, very clear EVP, a whispery male voice, and it said a name, and we both heard it. Myself and Lee both heard it, and we both picked out the name Thomas. Thomas was the first name that we picked out, but then the second name, the surname, it was like Fitz or Ritz or something like that. and immediately I get onto the laptop and I bring up a list of the executions that have happened at Lancaster Castle. Now, we were previously given a very, very short list. There was only about 30 names on the initial list that we were given, and it was mostly the high profiles, your murderers, your rapists, that kind of thing. And we knew that there were more, so I went onto the internet and I happened to find a full list of every execution that had ever taken place at Lancaster Castle. And I was searching down the list and looking for Thomas's. Surnames or first names, we weren't quite sure. And as I go down the list, I find a Thomas. And I turned to Lee and I said, could it be Thomas Ricks? And we both looked at each other and we replayed the EVP, and sure enough, the voice says Thomas Ricks. And then I looked at what he'd actually been executed for, and right next to his name, he was executed for sodomy. So at that point, both Lee and I looked at each other. My blood went cold, the hackles on the back of my neck stood up, and it was then we'd realised that whoever Steve had seen, he was there and he was answering us, and he even gave us a name. And it, to this day, it's probably one of our best pieces of evidence and one of our best and clearest EVPs.
Do you know who he was? What was he doing here? Do you know who he was? What was he doing here?
And another one that really stands out to me personally is Bow Manor Hall. Oh, wow. Myself and a couple of investigators, we'd walked through quite a few rooms there because there was a lot of conference rooms. And this is boring, move on to the next one. No, nothing here, don't feel anything, moved on to the next. Came to one, and one of the team says, oh, she said, I don't like it in here. So anyway, she went in further into the room and I decided to stay just inside the door. And when I stopped moving, there was a footfall behind me, a real creaky floorboard sound. And I moved and it did it again. And I could feel somebody walking behind me, and you could actually feel and hear the footfall. That for me was a really creepy experience, and I'm glad it was all caught on camera, so you'll probably see that bit for yourself. And you really want to have a look at the whole video. Actually, it was quite an interesting night.
I was creaking underneath me and I'm not moving. Now, I could feel that floor going under me. I can hear it creaking.
Whose is that? Who's doing the creaking?
I'm not moving.
The team start to hear and feel the floor move, even though they're all standing perfectly still at the time. As Lynn feels uneasy, she moves position and the floor squeaks again, as if something is following the team around the room. You can clearly hear the floor on the cam mic. Pipes underneath the floor? Settling? Or something else? You decide.
Look how still I am.
Right. Well, stand still. Both of you stand still, because we need to be able to see it, that no one's moving.
I'm not moving.
Can you get our feet in?
No, I'm coming over to you now. Wow.
Where do I stand? Oh my god.
Hannah, can you stand somewhere else?
I'm moving around.
Yeah, that was me.
What was that?
That's the radiator, switch it on.
Hello? Is it you making the floorboards creak under my feet?
I'm just going to move away in case it's picking me up.
No, but when we move, nothing creaks. No,
Can you stand back where you were when it was creaking?
It's no matter where I stood, it was like following me around. I was here, wasn't I? Yeah. And I wasn't probably near where you were. Pretty sure I was right here. I could feel it.
Well, I've got it on the video anyway, with nobody moving and the floor creaking.
So back in 2016, we investigated a beautiful building called Old Strutt School, which is based in Belper in Derbyshire in the United Kingdom. It's an amazing building, lots of history, no longer used as a school unfortunately, but I particularly remember a room upstairs that I walked into and was greeted with the spirit of a very kind looking lady, sort of a matronly figure, nursey type figure, who was in that room. And we caught an EVP that said, "Help me," at that time. And that was interesting enough in its own. A little bit later on, when we went back into the room to do a vigil, I had the spirit of this lady who was sort of walking around the table to my right, and suddenly I saw a face on my left, which was a completely different person. And I was just kind of getting my head round what I was seeing and who it was, and we then caught an EVP that said, "I'm there, here in the room." So that was kind of validating that, yes, somebody else had appeared beside me, and they were able to get some EVP through to us, which was absolutely brilliant. It's a great piece of evidence. It was a really, really nice place to investigate, and I hope you enjoy watching this little clip. Okay, she's standing to your right, Lee. Between the wall and your right shoulder. So the audio's just moving again. So she's wearing a white pin and a dress. So quite a large lady. Very friendly, caring lady. She's walking through.
What, through me?
Yes, coming up the end of the table. Now standing to the right of Lee. Trying to slide in front of him.
There's an EMF spike
For
right
some
here.
reason, I can see.
Just said quite a lot
The
then.
EMF spike here. That's gone.
God, I've just seen something. I'm sure I've just seen a face.
Where?
Where?
To my left. Because I thought somebody was standing beside me. It wasn't that lady. It was completely different.
Says something, yeah.
Okay.
I'm there.
I'm there.
So I thought somebody was standing beside me. It wasn't that lady. It was completely different.
Says something, yeah.
Okay.
I'm there.
I'm there.
So I thought somebody was standing beside me. It wasn't that lady. Well, it was completely different. Okay.
I'm there.
I'm there. Wow.
Okay, so
What?
okay.
Does that really just say I'm there?
Yeah. Okay, we've got two spirits in this room now. What I was about to say, my hand is absolutely tingling. There is somebody standing here. What I wanted to just tell you before we were interrupted by that person, the lady that was standing by Lee, if her name is Annie, as I see her standing there, it's like she's got all this energy coming out of her.
A few years back we also investigated the Old Nick Theatre in Gainsborough. This is a small independent theatre, but back in the Victorian times it used to be a police station with holding cells at the bottom floor. We did an investigation there and we set up a few static cams, and one of the static cameras we set up down near the cells facing the long corridor. We caught two things that night on this static cam. One was an EVP that was quite clear, quite chilling to hear, and the second, which blew me away, was a strange shadow, a strange anomaly that appeared on the left hand side of the wall. What was interesting is that down in this particular corridor there's no light play that can come from anywhere to create a moving shadow on a wall, and through watching the footage we quickly realised that the only way a shadow would form on that wall is if team members are actually in that corridor walking down the corridor. So for a shadow to appear on the wall and move in an empty corridor for me was really quite interesting. Here's the footage, see what you think.
She was leaning over to answer it, it fell off.
I noticed.
Okay, my second memorable moment was at Guyscliffe House in Warwickshire. Again, something a lot of the paranormal shows don't really show you is you know, sometimes you can be at an investigation and there's not a lot going on, and you think, oh, you know, we've come all this way for nothing. But then every once in a while, something happens that, in my own words, really stokes the fire and keeps you coming back for more, basically. We were in a building, an outbuilding called the Undercroft. It would have been the kitchens at some point in this building. There was myself, Lee, Gemma and Mike. This was, I don't know how to explain it. It was an outbuilding, had a long corridor going down the middle of it, and it had rooms off of the corridor that went down a couple of steps. So you were almost subterranean in the rooms. We'd gone down into one of the rooms. They nondescript square room, little window at the top. Hard to tell what these rooms would have been used for, because they were so old. But we'd we were completely separate from the rest of the team. They was all in the main building, so there was just the four of us, just doing a mini sort of visual on our own. Both Gemma and I both remarked that we thought we could hear voices. When I say voices, I mean like a conversation, as opposed to people talking to us. It was almost like you were downstairs in a house and you could hear someone having a conversation upstairs. You couldn't make out any words, you could just hear tones. But we both heard that. Lo and behold, when we replayed the visual, there was pretty much a direct response to my calling out. When Lee played it to me for the first time, every single hair on the back of my neck stood out as far as it would go. For me, it's an amazing piece of evidence. It's relevant. It's responding to what I'm saying, not necessarily answering what I'm saying, but it's responding to me. When you see the video, you'll see what I mean. Awesome bit of evidence as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, I hope you think so too.
If there's anybody here, can you come closer, please? Footsteps there.
I did.
There's no need to be afraid. We're not here to harm you. We're not here to send you into the light. We're just here to talk. We're not here to send you into the light. We're just here to talk. We're not here to send you into the light. We're just here to talk. Is there anybody near the undercraft?
I really don't like it in here. It takes a lot for a room to freak me out, and this one is.
Really?
I swear something's just touched my hair.
There is water dripping on Jem.
Why do I keep hearing almost like women talking?
Yeah, I keep getting just like the tail end of a conversation.
Yeah.
Or the tail end of a sentence, like the last couple of
Yes, yeah.
sort of tones. If that's you, can you say it louder, please? We can hear something, but we can't quite make it out.
That's my stomach.
If you're trying to communicate but you're not strong enough, come closer. Don't be afraid. Come and take energy from us, and hopefully we can give you the strength to communicate.
Heard something out there.
Yeah, I did.
That was quite freaky. Where I've shone the light straight over into the other opening. It's cast a shadow, and my torch moved slightly. It looked like someone had done that.
Step back.
But it wasn't. It was just when my torch moved.
Hi everyone, my name's Michael. I'm one of the team members of HBI. I also take the photographs for the team of the locations we get to visit and of the team members themselves, which will appear in the videos. And on the subject of videos, you might also recognise these dulcet tones, as I am lucky enough to do the voiceovers. I say lucky, I do the voiceovers for the videos. 2020 has been a difficult year for everybody, not just HBI, but for us as a team, it's meant we haven't been able to get out to the locations we had booked up for this year, and there were some incredible places we're going to get fortunate to visit. It also means that we haven't been able to see each other because we're not just a team, we're also a group of friends, so not being able to see these guys for a year has been tough, but then everybody's been in the same boat, and health is very, very important at this current time. We're hoping 2021 will allow us to get back to some semblance of normality, which means we should be able to get back out to the venues and start producing videos for you all, and also collecting more evidence. On the subject of evidence, we were all asked to find or come up with our favourite 2, which is easier said than done. For me, my memory ain't brilliant, so it's trying to remember all the things we've experienced, all the things we've seen, but it's also trying to pick just 2 out of the huge library of evidence that we've managed to collect as a team. So I have picked 2, and the first one I'd like to talk about is from the Blackwater location. As a team, we were fortunate enough to be able to visit this on a number of visits, and my piece of evidence isn't a video. I haven't used It's Not Voice. For me, it's a stills photograph which I took. The staff had reported seeing shadows on staircases, doors had opened and closed by themselves, people working late at night had heard movement around them when there was nobody else in. They'd heard footsteps, seen shadows moving around. And one of the particular areas was a staircase. There were several staircases in the building, but people had reported seeing shadows. So it was myself, Lee and Andrea, just the 3 of us on our vigil. I had with me a full spectrum camera, which is a converted normal stills camera, but it allows it to see in the light spectrum that a human eye can't. The theory being that it can actually maybe capture evidence that maybe the naked eye couldn't see. So we were filming the staircase just to see, to try and capture some evidence. Maybe we could capture these shadows that people had spoken about. And I reeled off about 4 or 5 stills from various angles of the staircase. And it was only when I did what we all do with our digital cameras, to stop and look back at the screen, I noticed that there was a long shadow which had moved down the stairs with each subsequent photograph. I showed this to Lee and Andrea. And the first thing we did, which is what HBI always do, we didn't run saying, we've captured an evidence. The first thing we tried to do was debunk it. So I repositioned Andrew and Lee where they were standing when I was taking the photographs to try and mimic maybe the potential light bleed from Lee's infrared camera to try and debunk these photographs. And as hard as we tried, we couldn't. I must have taken another 15, 20 photographs of this staircase from the same place I was standing, holding the camera in the same way, with Lee and Andrew standing next to me where they were, and we couldn't recreate it. For me, as a photographer, because people have looked at them and said, oh, it's a shadow, because it does look like something throwing a shadow across the stairs. But it's difficult because the photographs don't show it, but they were taken in pretty much complete darkness. There was no light source that could have thrown a shadow over the stairs, so that's one thing. The second thing, if you look, the shadow appears to move down the stairs with each subsequent shot. So if it was indeed a shadow from a fixed light source, it wouldn't have moved. So we couldn't explain it. I can't explain it. I've looked at the photographs many, many times. I've taken pictures in the past which we think has shown evidence on closer examination. Looking at them on a laptop with the ability to be able to zoom in, you can easily debunk them. You can determine what it is. But these, to date, I still can't determine what it was that caused this shadow, because there's nothing on the photograph that could have caused it. So please have a look at the pictures and see what you think. Make your own opinion. But for me, they stand out as an interesting piece of evidence. So thank you for listening, and I'll be back with my second one. Thank you.
I've got a really uneasy feeling at the moment.
I know, I do.
Really?
I don't want to be in here.
Neither do I. I'm feeling really uneasy.
Yeah.
That's great, that's what we're here for. If you're feeling uneasy, it means that something's about.
It's gone. That feeling's gone. Shh.
I think it's that.
Yeah. Do you know that's what they could... They say they hear whispering coming from rooms. That sounds like whispering. I thought...
It does.
Yeah.
That's what to call it.
Could they not be mistaken that as here, you know, if they come out of here after a long day and walk by that and go, hang on, what's this door here? And think they're hearing voices coming from inside the room. One possibility.
I swear I just heard a breath.
Is there anybody here with us? Can you make yourself known for us, please? Come forward. Are you upstairs? Is there somebody on the stairs? Can you show yourself?
There's no spikes.
Could be my eyes playing tricks. I'll have to.
I'm getting a weird shadow on the stairs. Can you point your cameras away a minute?
You sure it's not your thumb or your finger?
No. Still there. Okay. Something's casting a shadow. I can't work out what the hell it is. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
I can't work out what it is. It's moving up the stairs.
Yes.
What the f*** is that? What? That's... I don't know what's casting that, mate.
Okay, I'm back again. So moving on to my second clip. Now this is from another of my all-time favourite locations. This is from Ye Olde Trip to Jerusalem in Nottingham, and many people know it because it's so famous. It's reputedly one of the oldest inns in the country, if not the oldest. There's lots to dispute it, but there's plenty of evidence to suggest that it has been there for a very, very long time. Certainly before the 1100s. So lots of history, and again, it's got that atmosphere. When you walk through the door, you know that there's something not quite right about it. In some ways, not in a bad way, but it will always be one of my favourite places to go, and I think it's safe enough to say I don't think we've ever been to that location and come away with nothing at all. There's always been something that we can't explain, and it's probably one of the best places we've ever had for EVPs. And if you want to have a look, please go on to our YouTube page and have a look at our investigations at the trip to Jerusalem, because it really is a mind-blowing place. But on this day in particular, Steve and I had gone down into the cellars on our own. And to give you an idea of the cellars are actually carved into the cave system underneath the pub. There is about 30 metres of solid stone above you. There is nothing above you at all. You can't hear anything from outside. So if you hear a voice in there and it's not yours, then there's somebody else with you, and not of a human nature, a paranormal nature. And this day we went down and we went to the condemned man's cell. Now, I've been in that cell a lot of times. I've sat in there on my own, I've done vigil after vigil in there, and very rarely do we get anything. But this one night, Steve and I had decided to go down there on our own. We took a camera with us and we got the REM pod set up on a couple of the beer crates. And we were calling out, and it didn't feel any different than usual. And as we started just chatting, really, Steve says there's a gentleman that's come to join us, and he says he's a nice person, which immediately puts you at ease. And he says, oh, he's coming closer, he's interested in what we're doing. And all of a sudden I had a very cold feeling on my knee, which felt very strange because it was quite warm, really. But my knee went very cold and very numb, almost to the point where I couldn't feel it. And he said, yeah, he's right up behind you. He's doing that because he wants your attention, kind of thing. And he then said to me, you know, he's a nice person, he belongs here. And we started calling out, and then the REM pod started to go off. Now, the REM pod has never gone off in the condemned man's cell. Very rarely goes off at all. And when it started to go off, we kind of said, okay, right, if that's you, can you do that again? And it was going off in short blips. And Steve said that it's this man, he kind of wants us to know he's here. And then it stopped for a little while, and Steve was like, he's backing off a bit. And we were like, oh, okay. And I carried on calling out, and then Steve's like, no, he's back. And then when he started to describe the gentleman, there is a very, very famous landlord. His name is Yorkie. And he is known to be down in those cellars. He likes playing with people. He likes playing tricks on people. He particularly likes touching you. And it all started to make sense. Now, I'd wanted to come in contact with Yorkie ever since we started investigating there, and he'd never appeared. He'd never made his presence known. But as I started calling out again and asking the REM pod to continue to flash, it started to respond. And the more questions I asked, the more it responded. And when I mentioned the name George Henry Ward, which is what Yorkie's real name was, we seemed to get an even stronger response. And you can tell by my reaction that I'm really excited about what was happening. And I really felt like we got in touch with probably the inn's most famous previous resident. And yeah, just watch, it's exciting, and it really made me feel like Yorkie was happy for us to be there.
He's following us.
Okay. Who are you, sir? We mean you no harm.
I think that's the guy I've seen before.
Okay. Is this the guy that was making you uneasy earlier, do you think?
I don't know what was making me uneasy. When I came in here, I couldn't remember anything that I was going to say.
Okay.
And I couldn't even think straight. I just completely had a blank mind and couldn't think of anything, and had to come out.
Right, okay.
It was a bit strange.
Okay, if you're
if you're trying to affect Steve in this way, please can you talk to us or do something for us? Tell us your name. If you're going to join us, it's the least you can do. I'm Gemma and this is Steve. We really do mean you no harm. Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you, that's really good, right? Okay, that's really weird as well.
Yeah.
Because if this detects what it thinks is a face,
Yeah.
it puts a square around it,
Okay.
and it's just done that next to the REM pod.
Okay.
Okay, if there's anybody in this cell with us, please can you do that again?
Oh.
Oh, wow, thank you.
thank you.
That is fantastic. Okay, can you tell us your name? If you speak to us, you just have to say your name. We will hear you. Now, as you can see, for those
There's a very
on
strong
the video,
very strong male presence now right beside you, Gemma.
Okay. Oh. Okay. Thank you. That's really good. Come on. Come and do something a little bit more for us. This is fantastic. This is... You absolute star.
Wow.
Okay.
Gemma, he's standing.
He's right next to me, isn't he?
Next to you.
He's here, where my dictaphone is.
Yeah, he
yes,
is.
I can feel him.
Yeah.
My whole left side has gone so cold.
Yeah.
I actually can't feel my knee. I've gone that cold. Okay, sir, that's very nice of you.
This is brilliant, thank you.
It's very nice of you, but can I please have my knee back?
He's laughing.
Oh my god! No, seriously,
Yeah.
as I said that, my knee's just gone really warm. No way!
He just laughed and let go.
Oh, thank you! You are a gentleman then, sir. Thank you very much. Now, can you make that light go off again? Oh, you
Yes,
star!
thank you. Oh, that's brilliant.
Oh, we love you. You're amazing. Can you tell us what you did here? Were you a jailer? Was that your job? You couldn't have been a prisoner here, sir. Could you?
Did you work down here?
Come on, if the answer's yes to one of the questions, get that light to go off for us. So, did you work here? Did you own?
What's that noise?
Did you hear? I heard that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. It almost sounded like somebody was telling me to shut up. Thanks.
I'm going very cold.
Okay.
Back of my legs. Right leg. Feels like someone's got his hand on it.
Which is what how it felt on my knee earlier on. Okay, what you've given us so far is absolutely fantastic. You know, this is what we're here for. If you can do anything else, maybe you could touch one of us. You could make the lights on that box go off again. That would be fantastic. I just heard something
Yeah,
behind
yeah,
me then.
yeah. There's a noise over there.
There is. I can't point the camera down that way because it's the IR flood gets in the way.
My leg's gone back to normal.
Okay, so he's moved. What kind of person is he?
He's got he's quite a tall, but he's an older chap. I'm sure I've seen him before down here on the previous vigil.
It's not Yorkie, is it?
He's got an overall on, like a brown. I think it's brown, like a overall type.
Yorkie, is it you?
He's got a thin face.
Because I know a lot of people have said about Yorkie is he likes to kind of touch people.
Yeah.
And he's quite a practical joker.
Yeah. He had a great laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we could be talking Yorkie.
George Henry Ward was landlord of the Trip from 1894 until his death in 1914. A colourful character, his nickname is Yorkie. It is believed that it's his spirit that likes to play tricks on people in the cellar caves.
Yorkie, are you here? Come back and do what you've just been doing for us.
Shall I give you your proper name? George Henry Ward. George, are you here? Come on, come back and do something for us again.
Thank you.
Well done.
I think
that's brilliant.
I think you've lost a little bit of your energy from what I can
Yeah.
sense. But that's okay. You've done amazingly. This is great for us.
Am I talking to George? George Henry Ward, is this you? Affectionately known as Yorkie.
He's there again at the doorway.
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right in the doorway. Come in, George. If that is you. Yes, it is you.
Oh,
thank you so much.
Oh, Yorkie, do you know what? I have wanted you to come to
my hair's
us.
going. I feel like I'm being pulled. That's weird.
So my last memorable moment for tonight is something that happened to me at the Jamaica Inn in Cornwall. For me, it's a bucket list location, probably my paranormal holy grail, if you will. When we got there, after we'd set up, we did our first vigil in the museum. As you can probably imagine, there were lots of glass cabinets. I plotted myself down on top of a gunpowder barrel next to a glass cabinet, and we started calling out. Not long into the investigation, we started to hear a tapping noise. It was coming from all over, basically. You know, 1 minute it would be far away, next minute it'd be a little bit closer. We were trying to call out to see if whatever it was that was making a noise could come closer. Just as a side note, I use a voice recorder that has stereo microphones on it, and I use headphones. The idea behind that is that by listening to headphones, it amplifies the sound around me, possibly giving me the opportunity to capture a real-time EVP rather than having to go back and listen. I mean, I still do go back and listen, but if you can capture a time when something interesting occurs, you can cut through a lot of the dead time that you're listening to a recording. That's the theory anyway. One of the downsides of using headphones when you're listening to a voice recorder is that the amplification is so much greater. Anyway, we were calling out, and like I said, the tapping noise was all over the place. 1 minute it was right at the very far end, generally it sounded like it was on the glass of the cabinets, different cabinets that were dotted around the room. And then all of a sudden there was this almighty bang. Now, when you watch the video, it sounds loud enough. You've got to imagine how much louder that would have sounded through my headphones. As you'll be able to tell as well, Lee spent a lot of time bleeping out my reaction. So, yeah, have a look.
There's some equipment that we've got with us. Little boxes with lights on. If you come closer to those boxes, they will detect you. And by detecting you, an alarm will go off, a noise. There's no need to be scared of it. If the noise goes off because you've got close to it, it's a good thing. So I urge you to please help us.
Can you see this, look? Can you do that? Maybe you need to be shown how to do it. I'll do that for us.
It won't hurt.
There's some voices coming from somewhere.
What was that?
Where has that come from?
That clicking noise came from through there, the Daphne du Maurier room.
Why don't you come and play with the ball?
What was that?
That was right next to me.
You didn't shift on the barrel, did you, mate?
It could be woodwork cooling
Both
down.
my nipples have gone ping.
I think it was one of the people might be open. You heard that from that, was it?
It was literally from this cabinet.
Yeah, I thought it was from a cabinet. It could just be cooling down.
That's what the cracking noise were. There was a cracking noise in that room, that's why we went in.
Sorry about the language.
It's loud.
But just before that happened, I heard a
There was a little white flash of light in there as well, just as that crack noise appeared, didn't it?
I'm not even leaning against it. I can feel it, but I'm not putting any pressure against it.
Definitely got some weird energy in this room, isn't it? Look at the old ropes, look.
It's almost like something tapped against the glass.
Elizabeth, is that you playing?
It's almost like something metallic, sort of like that.
Like that, yeah.
yeah, it was. And, yeah.
I'm not normally the one who does stuff like this. I'm normally the one who doesn't hear it.
You'd have heard that loud and clear with that in your ears, that's good.
It's even that much more amplified because I've got the headphones on.
It's loud to me though.
If that was you, whoever it was, you really got our attention. I know and I appreciate it may have taken a lot of energy to do that, but just for clarity, can you do it again, please?
I've got goosebumps, guys.
So we'll just crack down there then.
I heard something over there.
I've got mega goosebumps all over, and I'm not cold.
There's a tapping noise just behind you there.
So one of our favourite locations, and I think I can say this as a team, and we've investigated it about 9 times over the years, would be Tutbury Castle. And one of the most famous claims from Tutbury Castle are the pulses of blue neon lights that are seen in the Great Hall. These flashes of light that appear from nowhere. Nobody has any idea what they are, where they come from, and to date nobody can find a cause for these light anomalies in the Great Hall. With this in mind, we decided to set up a camera, and instead of flooding the room with IR, we turned the IRs off. So if these light anomalies appeared, the camera would detect them. And a couple of the team were doing a vigil in the Great Hall on one of our first investigations there, and we were calling out for the spirit of the little girl Ellie, which is also one of the claims there at Tutby Castle, this little girl. And as we're calling out, the team all of a sudden noticed this big flash of light that seems to emanate from one of the corners of the room. And at first we thought somebody had taken a photograph, so instantly we're like, who's just taken a photograph? Nobody's taken a photograph. All the cameras are away. Nobody's had a torchlight on. There was nobody in the grounds, and Tutby Castle stands up on a hill, and it's a good 10 minutes walk from any sort of civilization. There's no way anybody would be outside flashing lights or anything like that into the hall. We can't explain it. We've not caught it again in the other investigations that we've done at the castle, and as far as I'm aware to date, it's one of the biggest light anomalies caught in the Great Hall by a paranormal team. Again, it completely blew us away. The fact that we all witnessed it as well and immediately tried to find a source for this light, and we couldn't find anything that would cause it, was completely and utterly mind-blowing. So here's the clip. Flash.
Okay, if there's any spirit in here, I've got a little device in my hand if you speak. Ellie, can you walk towards me? Who's that? Did you see that? Flash. What was that? That's an infinity flash on there. I thought you were taking a picture. Did you take a picture, Simon? I was in your pocket. Well, my camera's out, but I'm not taking a picture. Yeah, that was nothing. I was just sitting there looking. That was a flash, but it wasn't as bright as a camera flash. No, it wasn't. Well, that is one of the claims in these two rooms of blips of light. Fantastic. If that was you making the lights in the corner there for us all to see, could you do it again for us, please?
One of the most interesting places that we've investigated has been the trip to Jerusalem, the pub in Nottingham in the UK. The pub is built into the rock face underneath Nottingham Castle, and what we heard still blows me away to this day. We set up a static camera in the rock lounge on the first floor, facing a closed door, and what we heard was footsteps that sounded like children running up the stairs, opening the door and closing it behind them, and running across the rock lounge. Now, during this time, the camera showed nothing, the door never opened, but it picked up the audio of these children running up the stairs. At the same time, we also picked up Lee at the foot of the stairs, who was just coming out of one of the bar areas, exclaiming as he heard the footsteps running up the stairs at the same time. Now, we saw nothing on camera, but we heard it, and to this day we can't explain that. Why you would have children in a bar, don't know. But I found that very, very intriguing.
We've had the audio of footsteps running across the floor, haven't we? Even though there was nobody in them.
Hi, it's Michael again, back with my second and what for me is my most favourite piece of evidence from HBI. This evidence was captured at Swindon Hydrobaths last year, so it was a bit of a journey down for the team, down to the south, but for me and the team it was worth it. It's a huge venue, amazing building, full of history. The decor, the architecture inside was incredible. The staff had reported poltergeist activity. They've reported footsteps. They reported doors banging. They'd seen shadows, everything. So we set up a trigger object in the children's swimming pool, which was one of the areas of the building where staff had reported poltergeist activity. The pool itself was empty due to leaks, so there was no water in it, which in itself gave for a weird atmosphere in the room, because normally we used to swimming pools being full of water, so it's very still. So we put the trigger object in there. It was a child's football, not the leather ones, but normally just one of the inflatable ones, which we placed on the bottom of the pool, which was on a slope, with a camera recording it the whole evening. We surrounded the camera with the foam noodles, the buoyancy aids which kids use to make sure that nobody could accidentally bump the camera or trip over it or knock it, so to try and protect the camera. Throughout the course of the investigation, the team went into the room on many times to perform vigils, myself included on one of them, and I even went down to the bottom of the pool to place another object and walk round the pool, which at that time I hadn't moved. Towards the end of the evening, I was fortunate enough to be in the team that went back to conduct a final vigil, and when we went back in, we noticed that the ball on the bottom of the pool had indeed moved. It had moved maybe 1.5 feet, 2 foot, and it also moved off to the left of its original position. So HBI did what HBI always do, is we looked to immediately try to debunk or get the ball to recreate its movement. And this probably took us about 45 minutes to do, and we could not get the ball to stop rolling where it was when we found it. Every time a member of the team touched the ball, it would roll all the way down the slope towards the deep end of the pool, and every time it would roll off to the right. It would never roll off to the left. We tried and tried, and we pushed it hard, and sometimes it didn't move. We tapped it, and sometimes it didn't move, but when it did move, as I say, it rolled all the way down to the end. We couldn't recreate it. We couldn't get the ball to stop where it was when we came back in the room. So the view was of the team, well, we can review it on the camera when we finished, when we go back to home. So the guys reviewed the evidence, and I remember seeing it for the first time, and just when I saw it, I was like, wow. You will see on the film the ball does move. It moves very slowly, as I say, about 1.5 feet, 2 foot, and then it rolls back up and stops. Now, we could not get the ball to roll that short distance, and as I say, every time we moved it, it rolled to the right and not to the left. So if that wasn't a great piece of evidence of something we couldn't explain, of an item moving against really where it should have moved, which was rolling down to the bottom of the pool and rolling back uphill and stopping. The next bit was about 2 or 3 minutes later, something hits the camera tripod. Well, we're not sure if it hit the camera tripod, we're not sure if it hit the camera, but something hit the camera with force. You see the camera shake, you hear the thud. But the thing is, before that was an echoing room. Any movement, any footsteps, anything would have been picked up by the camera's audio, and it wasn't. You didn't hear the sound of the door banging, you didn't hear the movement of anybody in there. People have said maybe it was a bird, maybe it was a rodent, but no, you didn't hear any flapping, and it must have been fairly heavy to cause the camera to move that much. So that, for me, is my favourite, still my most favourite piece of HBI evidence, the ball that moves itself and then the camera that gets hit. And maybe it's the camera being hit because nothing could have got near it. You could say that maybe it was a gust of wind that blew the ball. That could have been that. We're not saying it was paranormal, we're not saying it wasn't. But for me also, it was the camera being hit. So thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed my 2 pieces of evidence, and please review the videos again and see what you think. Thank you.
Yeah, that's mine. And the ball's moved. The ball has moved.
The ball has moved. It was on the square.
It was on the black square.
Yeah, that one hasn't moved. The wren hasn't, nor is the teddy bear.
But that has moved.
Well, that's your camera, so you'll be able to see that. I mean, was it ours? That's yours.
Is it still running? Please tell me it's still recording. That's rolled backwards.
Yeah, just put it on the bow, it's just rolled on the bow.
You would have thought they were going to see the thing. Excuse me.
So with Rob even nudging it with his foot, it's not moving off that spot. He's having to really push that now. Now, look at that. And it's still not going. So how the hell has it got off that and rolled down there?
It's gone the other way. It's taken almost exactly the same path as it did the first time. So it doesn't even go anywhere near where the one ended up. Yeah, but it can't, it just, the tiles do kind of plateau at that point. There is kind of a bit of a ledge at that point.
So what we're saying then, we can't recreate it.
This is a linear straight line. The big pool does go like that. And the pattern does not. That's just giving off the momentum.
So every time you put it back on that black square, it goes off to the right.
But when we found it, it was off to the left.
The thing is, why is it like something wrong about 6 inches and not more?
Yeah.
Because even just its balance moving it.
No, it's going off to the right again. So how the hell has it ended up to the left?
What you're about to see is the most compelling footage the team have caught to date. Not just because the ball moves on its own accord after remaining still for over 3 hours of filming, but because of what happens approximately 3 minutes later. Something hits the camera with force, causing it to alter angle. You have seen footage of the team entering the room, and it's impossible due to the echo the room creates to open the door and move about without making a noise. There are no animals in the room such as rodents or birds at the time of the event. All the team are accounted for and the room has been empty for over an hour. This remains unexplained.
The next piece of evidence I want to put on this video, which blew me away, was caught at the Trip to Jerusalem Inn in Nottingham. This is a 12th century inn, sits at the base of Nottingham Castle, and its cellars are incredible. They are a vast network of medieval limestone caves, and at the back is what they believe to be the old condemned man's cell that used to belong to the castle above. On our first couple of investigations down there, we caught some amazing evidence, some brilliant EVP, and one of the most mind-blowing was when myself and a team member was setting up a motion detector down in the condemned man's cell. And while we were setting it up, I decided to put a audio recorder in the condemned man's cell. Went in, put it down, walked back, and you can hear us on the audio discussing setting up this motion detector. And then from out of nowhere there is a loud male voice that seems to be shouting, "Help me," or "Help please." At the time we never heard it at all. It wasn't one of the team. There were two of us down there. You can hear us discussing the motion detector, and over the top of us discussing that is this loud voice. Again, we never heard it at the time, and we only found this when we were analysing the audio footage. It absolutely blew me away. It's so clear, it's so loud. Had we had heard it at the time, one of us, if not both of us, would have immediately acknowledged it. And the fact that we completely ignore it and carry on just goes to show you that we never heard it. So here's the clip. See what you think. Hope you enjoy it.
Really? Yeah. Very, very, very. Really? Yeah. Very, very, very.
We are Haunted Britain Investigation.